Welcome, 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 Wahoo fans, to this week's episode of The Lockdown featuring T-Cub and the Ball Hawk. That's right, you heard it. Petty Hawk is always dipping and dodging, flying around, just waiting and anticipating just to peck at somebody. We have a special guest, a man that was an integral part of my career at the university. Not only helped me become a great athlete, but helped me become an even greater man. And it is the great John Gamble, former strength coach for Virginia. What's up, family?
All good.
Good, man. It's great to have you, man. Great to
Thank you very
put my
much.
eyes on you. It's been a minute. How things been?
Oh, it's been good. You know, I've been kind of retired since like 2013.
Right.
And I've just been watching my boys, grow into men, and they leave the nest and start pursuing their own lives. So that's been a good thing to have the opportunity to see those ending but beginning stages of their lives.
Right. Wow. That has to be. I've got the two daughters, so I'm patiently waiting, holding my breath the whole time. So what do you do as an empty nester now?
Well, right now, just because of this COVID thing, we don't do a whole lot. And you would think that, I would think that there'll be a lot of traveling and stuff involved in it, just because the boys are Arizona, Virginia, and well, two of the three. And I would definitely travel around, see them. And, there's a lot of things that I haven't done. And I want to see if I can figure out if there's another step in my life. I still don't think I'm retired. I don't call myself retired, but I just wonder if there's something else I can do to just help and make an impact to help other people.
Gotcha.
Don't know what that is yet, but I'm still kind of in the hunt.
Okay. Gotcha. The constant pursuit of something, the next great adventure.
Oh yeah. Because I just think there's there's still a part of your life that you can offer somebody that can be beneficial. And I think I've had a lot of experiences, and I think those are meaningful and purposeful. And you need to, when you see the opportunity, we go through a lot of things in life, and sometimes we don't know the ups and the downs and how that impacts your life. And usually when the downs, you just think, woe is me.
Right.
But then you see somebody else going through something and you say, wow, I can share with them because I know what that feels like. So just trying to have an impact in a different way. And the good times are always good, although I always wanted to be on the sidelines for a national championship or a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Can't go back and get that one.
But. Yeah, truly. Well, look, let's take it all the way back. Richmond, Virginia, linebacker at Hampton University.
Oh my goodness.
First team Black college All-American, All-Central.
I don't even know if I can remember back that far.
In the Collegiate Athletic Association in football and track and field. So I did not know that you were a track and field specialist, though.
Yeah, I was a discus thrower. And I was actually I was okay. I was pretty good. I was competitive, and in the sense that what my son is doing now is the fruits of those opportunities that I had. So to be able to throw discus and throw far and be able to compete with some of the, be in the meets with some of the best guys in the country during my time, it just gave me the tools that I used to train my son. And I tell you, I asked him one day, I said, are you serious about it? Because if you want me to show you how to throw, you got to put some time in it. It can't be just I'm going to give it up. No. And he did everything I told him to do. As an example, I told him, I want you to roll the discus on the ground 50 times for a week. Just roll it on the ground. And what I was trying to teach him is two things. One is discipline, and then the other one is how to release the discus off his index finger.
Ah, okay.
So before you can throw, you got to learn how to release.
Oh.
So those things, even back then, man, that's going back way back in history. I think we still lived in caves back then. But those were all good. I mean, I had a good time. They were all good opportunities, and I don't regret the opportunity to compete.
Mm-hmm.
And
No doubt.
That's kind of the thing that for me, and I'm sure as we talk, we'll be talking about some other things about competition.
Of course, of course. So then how did you migrate from the football piece, track and field
Well,
into
I actually came to Virginia as a assistant track coach, and then I worked as an assistant strength coach. Now, the guy that I worked with and worked for, he knew that I was looking to leave because, I really enjoyed what I was doing, but I wasn't making much money at it.
right.
And I had just gotten married, so I figured I had a guy offer me a job from, I think it was like University of Wyoming, somewhere like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I was considering it.
Okay.
Because I needed more income, and I
Right.
just, at a certain point, you can't work for free.
True. True.
So I was looking for that opportunity and for other opportunities. And then he was given one to leave Virginia to go to in the private sector.
Okay.
You've heard of ACAC, right?
Yes.
Yep.
He was the one that started ACAC.
Okay.
That was, along with Phil Wendell, the owner, he partnered up with him, and that's kind of how ACAC got started.
Wow.
Kind of funny how
Okay.
it works, isn't it?
Yeah. So before the UVA, before you and Bill connected, let's talk about the weightlifting strongman career though.
Oh,
How did
well,
you get into that?
here's how it got started. I wanted to do something to compete.
Right.
And my buddy said, why don't you try powerlifting? I'm like, well, I mean, I've always been kind of strong, but I mean, I don't know. I've never done it before. And so I just started training. I went to a meet about 2 months later, and I broke the state record in the deadlift. And there was no looking back. I had caught the bug.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it's one of those things. I went to a meet in North Carolina. I'm trying to think of the town, but it was one of the things that really motivated me. And I saw these men, it was three of them, and they were pumping each other up to bench 500 pounds. Now, at that point in time, I was only benching 4 and a little bit of change, a couple pennies.
Okay.
And to see these men just get riled up and excited to lift 500 pounds, I'm like, man, I want some of that. And I think from that point, I had goals that I wanted to reach. I wanted to do a little bit more. The harder I trained, I saw the impact of that. It wasn't as hard for me as it probably would have been for other people, but I really enjoyed it. I was able to lift weights and lift numbers that most people would be afraid of, but I was never afraid of it. I can't explain that.
Right.
I really can't explain why I wasn't afraid of it. And the first time I squatted 800 pounds, I'm like, let it go.
Ooh.
Just let it go. I'm going to get it. And the first time I benched 500, I'll tell you a quick little story. The guy I trained with, the guy that was used to be the former head strength coach at Virginia, he did, in one of our training days, he did 495 for 5. And if you put a 2.5 on, he couldn't move it.
Wow.
Now, for me, I did 475 for 3, and I think I did like 506 that day.
Wow.
I just had no fear of it. I can't explain it, but that was to me, that was a meaningful time in my life because it helped to give me the confidence as I'm becoming a better strength coach that I can train guys based on things that you're not sure of what you're capable of until you try a little harder.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and that was kind of the food, that was my nutrition for the things that I felt that kind of started. How was I able to tell guys, I'm like, you can do this. You got to have confidence in yourself. Come on, you can push a little harder. And I think all of those things are meaningful in the sport of football or any other sport because you're testing yourself.
Right.
And let's say it's, I always use the analogy of 4th and 1. And for me, I believe you have a lot of times in your life where you're facing 4th and 1. It could be on the football field or it could be in everyday life. But I just think that when you're prepared to push and not say, I can't or I'm not sure, I mean, all of those are failures.
Right.
And I just think that the attitude that I try to use is that why wouldn't you try? And my thing was, if one man has done something, why can't another do it and just do it a little bit better?
True.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And you did it at a high level when you're talking about, so you weren't just, the strong man at the local gym around the corner in Richmond.
Right.
You were world renowned in powerlifting. I mean, to be the top ranked power lifter in the world at 275 pounds for 2 years. I mean, that is taking it to the next level of greatness, and just listening to you, I'm like, yeah, I see it. I see it as I was kind of going back and doing some research. I was like, yep, I know exactly what that is. I know exactly what that is because that's the piece that you instilled in a lot of us. So it makes perfect sense now. Perfect sense.
And the other thing I did was I had a player, his name, and this is just one case scenario on how you can transfer that information and allow it to help you in other ways, especially with the players. Tom Kilgannon was before you guys, and he was a defensive lineman. And Tommy was, he was a 450 bench, and he was one of those guys that was, I'm not sure if he was ever going to start. He might play, but I don't know if he was ever going to start. And we talked. We sat down and talked one day, and I said, Tommy, I don't. You being the strongest guy on the team, that's great, but I want to see you play football. I want to see how many plays you can get in.
Right.
And so I said, we need to stay with your strength where it is, but we need to work on your quickness, on your foot quickness. We got to work on your agility. These are the things that's going to help you be a better football player. So it's not just, look at me, I'm the strongest guy in the weight room. No. The goal is to help you be stronger and more fit to play football, to be a better athlete, and whatever athletic ability you have, how much more can I help you bring that out? So it's the push, it's the drive, you probably, I don't even know if you know this, Terry Kirby reminds me of this all the time. And he said, you won't let me break the record in the squat. I'm like, no. I said, your next year, you can be earning money to play football. And I don't think anybody's going to pay you to squat.
Right.
So Nicky Fisher had the record for the squat. And TK did 5 reps with 5 pounds under the record. Now I wouldn't let him break the record. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You remember Jeff Lagerman?
Yes, sir.
Logs wanted to break the record in the power clean. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to let you do it. I said, I think that if you lift the weight I think you can lift, I just don't want to take a chance on that. So we'll take 315 and you just do some reps with it. He did somewhere between 3 and 5.
Right.
The record was 315. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that I had the mindset that if I thought that it would be more detrimental, then we're not going to do it. You're not going to take a chance on lifting a heavy weight, and that's all dandy and good. But then if you do hurt something, then you're watching football from the sidelines instead of playing.
But you're strong.
Yeah, you're strong.
Hey, are you strong enough to play football?
Right.
That's the key. Now, it differs for everybody. It's not the same for everybody.
No doubt. Well, thankfully you migrated there, and you and Bill trained together, and so when he came to UVA as that head guy, you came on as the assistant track and field.
Yeah, he was already there.
Okay,
he was already there, and I was working as the assistant track coach for the throws, and he I guess because he saw me working out and so forth, he wanted me to kind of be a part of that. And I mean, I don't regret it because it turned into, a heck of a 35, years.
Right. No doubt.
Because, 15 at Virginia and 20 in the league, that's not a bad tenure.
No, that ain't bad at all. And the amount of lives that you impacted, John, man, I you could not fill up the Brooklyn Bridge with them, because I have several of them that you impacted on this call now. We have Tyrone Lewis, Terry Kirby, Eric Boyd, Sean Moore, and Ray Roberts also have joined it. And because I wanted them to all come on, because you like I said, man, you impacted so many of our lives, man, just with the way that you taught us how to do it. I mean, I just remember coming to Virginia as just a cocky first year dude, 164 pounds, soaking wet, can't bench 185 3 times. And you turned me into an animal, but it was not just what you did in the weight room, is what you did away from U-Haul, as
I
as
appreciate that. Thank you.
And I think the guys really, you impacted all of us that way, and so I thought it would be really cool for guys to come on while we're having this discussion, so that they can kind of just share, hey John, this is how you impacted me, when we were there, because it's just we all have a different story of how you impacted us, and so as we talk about the years at UVA, guys are going to share just how important and how impactful you were to them.
No, I appreciate that.
No doubt. So getting to UVA, and when you became the head guy, when Bill left, you knew that you wanted to run your type of program, and as I listened to you talk about how you did things as a power lifter, I think about how you put the workouts together for us, because it was never about how many times you could do something one time. I mean, hey, Ray gonna be pushing dudes off of him a whole game, so I don't care how much you can do it one time. How many times can you do it? Because you can be doing it all day. So that's the kind of impact. So how did you come about creating that type of program for us?
Well, the biggest thing was, like, I don't know if anybody, I can't remember when we started. Like, we went from pushing on leg sleds, and guys were lifting like some crazy weights. And then I just said, we need to squat. We just need to use body weight. We don't, we got to a point where, to kind of help with this base, I think we needed a foundation of strength. And a foundation of strength doesn't mean, it determines how well you play football, because when you spoke about the names you just mentioned, I was blessed to have that group of guys that were, man, I mean, who could have ever assembled such a good group of athletes?
Mm.
And I kind of showed a way of doing things, but man, I had a heck of a group of athletes to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to make sure that we did things based on what was beneficial for that group of athletes at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
To give you an example, I never thought that the only thing I approve of laying down and doing was the bench.
Right.
But we had to stand up to do legs because we got a squat. It's a multi-joint movement. We did power cleans off the floor. And I would say that once I went to the NFL, you guys were such good students that I could teach you things that you just can't teach everybody. I hope I'm not saying that the wrong way, but you guys it's just like, I remember when I got kilo plates for the new weight room, and I'm like, these guys are too smart. I'm not putting charts up. I just got to come up with a way so that it makes it easy for them to remember and they can easily do the math in their heads.
Mm-hmm.
So I came up with a thing that was, you add the two numbers and then you add the first number and the last number, and that should give you that kilo translation. Well, in the back of my mind, I was always thinking about, we look at these guys as a group of athletes, but man, we were blessed with the talent.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, where you were, because I love when George would bring in 6'5", 260 pounds, 280 pounds, because I know that same guy is going to be 300 pounds for the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when John Ford was with us, I had about 6 of those guys that I trained in the pool for 6 weeks during the winter workouts, and they all got faster in the 40-yard dash. Don't ask me how that happened, but I just have crazy stuff in my head, and I just thought we could at least be efficient. I didn't think they would run that fast, but I thought we'd at least be efficient.
What are some of the exercises? I mean, cut you off. You remember some of the exercises you had them doing?
Just running in the water. We did like your running drills, we did in the water. Sprinting, we did it in the water. We put flotation devices around them so that they didn't have to worry about staying afloat. And I think I had at least one guy that couldn't swim, but he was confident in that safety device that he knew he wasn't going anywhere but back and forth.
Yeah.
He wasn't going down.
Awesome.
Wow.
And I just use that to our benefit for that time period. There's certain things that I didn't repeat for whatever reasons, but when we were running in that cage, that floor was hard.
Yeah, no doubt. Oh yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. So let me bring a couple of the fellas in. Derek,
Okay.
what do you remember about working with Coach Gamble and how he impacted you?
Saved my life. He can tell you many days I was sitting at the office and I wanted to leave because I wasn't playing.
Right.
But the ability to come in the weight room and get in the cage, and Cub and I were in group 1 as freshmen, and it seemed like nobody wanted to work with Chris Warren, and you put me with Chris Warren day 1 with the harness pull. So I said, "Wow!" I said, "He must see something in me that other people not seeing." And you were always that guy for me, no matter how much I got down on myself. You always lifted me up. I remember the day when I set the power clean record for receivers. John Ford found out about it and drove back over there and broke it again. I think I did 300. He did 315.
Right.
But you would always motivate me to keep doing it. And I think some of your sayings kept me going. A man can do what a man can do, whatever it takes. And as an 18 and 19-year-old kid away from home from your parents for the first time for an extended period of time, you need somebody to lean on. And you were always that, You wasn't trying to share the Chinese food that you sent us to get, but everything else, it was just tremendously beneficial to my mental state. And haven't seen and talked to you in forever, but mention your name all the time when the guys I've coached.
That's awesome.
Very sincerely, Coach. You kept me at UVA along with the friendships and the guys. Some of these guys on this podcast, you know, you don't want to leave the friendships, but you were like a real, not a father figure because you were a little too cool for that, but you were a real big brother, uncle type. So I thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate you, man. That's awesome.
Coach Gamble was Unc at the cookout.
Please.
Oh yeah.
Washcloth with cologne on and the baby powder on his chest with the linen
Oh,
suit.
no doubt. No doubt. No doubt.
Hey, Cuz, let me say one other thing since Hawk talked about the cookout. So coach invites Marcus Wilson and myself, and I think Sean went with us. And we got over to the house, and it was pasta, you know, spaghetti, marinara sauce. First time I ate that, I was like, where the meat at? He said, we're trying to put things into your body to make sure that it's fuel for the car. So it was an introduction to something new, and you know, we carry those things with us.
That's awesome. Thank you.
No doubt. Ray Roberts, jump in, fam.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it's just awesome to see the dudes that are on the call that I have so much respect for. You know, Sean, like a lot of people, like Sean always takes like a lot of the credit for like hosting me on my visit, but it was actually Derek Boyd. And the whole time I was trying to figure out, how's this dude from North Carolina, but he sounded like he's from New York. Like I just could not, I just could not figure that out. But Derek was so cool and smooth with it. And then we hung out with Sean, you know, most of the time I was there. So just a couple of those two. And then knowing that Derek was from North Carolina, I was from North Carolina. So that just kind of helped me, you know, make that decision to come there. But I can remember coming, and we were doing early on, we're doing like, you know, trying to set the base for like our lifts and things. I never lifted weight in my life. Like I played football and basketball, and that was it. I didn't lift any weights. I don't even think we had a weight room at my high school. And so I saw everyone on the bench, like getting all pumped up. They do the 1, 2, 3. They lift it off 225, rep it out. That shit almost broke my chest. Like I said, I got 1, 2, 3, and they lifted it up, and it just went bam, like straight down my chest. And I couldn't get it up. And so I went over to I think it was the DBs, was doing like 175, 180. I think
185,
I got like maybe 3 of those. And on my arm flapping, like trying to swim, like trying to fly.
You got more than me.
But I was 260 pounds. But the thing that was impactful for me was that John just always had this like this matter of fact way of saying things. So you didn't have a choice to like, he wasn't giving you an option to say, like he was saying earlier, you didn't have an option to say, I think I can do it, or maybe I'll try it or whatever. You just had to do it. And then through that, just all the different workouts and things that we did, stand there in the summer, working out with John sometimes in the mornings. I remember going into my last year, I was just like, man, John Ford's bench press is like 440 pounds or something. And then we didn't have any off. I think it was a bench press record at the time. And I said, we didn't have any lineman that had anything close to that. And I just told John, like, I got to get that before I leave here. And so that summer we just worked. And I remember the day came and I was trying to get all pumped up as best I can. And I kind of hit John in the chest, and he kind of went back and hit the weight bar on the incline bench. And it scared me because I'm like, oh crap, this joke about to like beat the hell out of me. Like he just hit back. And so then I lost focus for a second. But then John pounded me back on the chest. And so that kind of got me back into it. And I think I did 450, I think, that day. And so at that point I had the record on the wall. And so I said it on the call earlier. When I came there, I knew I had all the athletic ability and talent and all that stuff to play football at that level, but I didn't have the strength at all. I didn't have the base strength. I didn't have the whatever goes on top of the base strength and whatever goes on top of that. I didn't have it. And my confidence grew working with John in the weight room. Then obviously, like, just the monster in me just came out on the football field, to where I just felt like there wasn't anybody in the country that could line up across from me and think they were going to have a good day. And so a lot of that confidence came from just the confidence that John gave me in the weight room. And like, I think, I think I sent you that one letter jacket. I had
Oh yeah.
For
I
you.
still have it too.
Yeah, because I mean, it just the impact you had on my life was just tremendous. So that the built confidence in me. Like, so I'm working with my 16-year-old son now in the weight room, and it's the same. Like, I try to have the same attitude that you had. Like I want him to know that I believe that he can do it, and there's no other choice but to do it. And so we're starting to see some gains that way. So I'd love you to death, man. I love everybody.
Amen, brother. Same here.
Cov and Tyrone, like, that whole North Carolina thing, and with Derek and stuff that we had, there, and then Tyrone being my roommate, like all that kind of stuff. I have so much love for everybody on the call. It's just incredible. TK coming in as a young dude and just working his ass off, even though he was a top player in the country and stuff like that. It was a different group of dudes, man, and just a different hunger. And a lot of that came from what we're doing in the weight room with you, John.
No, I appreciate it.
No doubt.
Thank you.
And Cole, if I can interject something, we were sitting in John's office, and Ray was really frustrated because Ray had these long arms. He and Jeff Loggeman probably had the longest arms I'd ever seen. And so Ray was really frustrated because, as Ray was saying, he couldn't hit the weights. And John said, he was telling him to be patient. It's going to come. You will get better. You'll get stronger. And Ray just wanted to do what other guys were doing. And I remember him talking Ray off the ledge because Ray was just really frustrated. And then you go 3 years later from Ray being, 6'6", 260, his first year, to his third year, pushing Chester McLaughlin out of bounds. And so when Ray was, and I just remember that image of Ray pushing this All-American, and Chester wasn't a small guy. And Ray took him, off the line of scrimmage and onto our sideline and pancaked him. And that was just like one of those, it all came together for Ray, because I remember, and Ray was right. Ray couldn't lift anything. And then he worked at it because he just had the longest arms you'd ever seen. And
it didn't help that Tyrone shows up with like the big chest in the history, bro. Like, what? What are these dudes lifting their high? Like,
it was like Tyrone had John Gamble when he was in high school.
I look inside of him. I'm just like, holy crap! Like, these dudes are freshmen, and like, how the hell did they get like this? Like, and then very first time, my first stay on campus, I showed up actually to UVA a week early. We got the time all mixed up, and I didn't have a place to stay, so they stuck me in with David Griggs and Ray Otis Perkins over at UVA. And so I'm just like, damn, like two Mr. Unitas. Like, look at my pudgy body. You know what I'm saying?
Well, TK, you came in, as Ray alluded to, and Ty, you guys came in ready. You had a work ethic, so you were able to just jump into the mix, because you were about it. So with that mentality, you meeting John for the first time, how did that impact you?
Well, the craziest thing is I met John, I think it was my
junior
year.
Yeah, it was when you were junior in high school.
I was a junior in high school, and I came up for one of the football games. And, they had John come up there and, introduce himself. And I think I had sunglasses on. And I never forget, John looked at me and said, what you doing with those sunglasses on? You ain't that cool. And he shook my hand. And when he shook my hand, he actually, John and shake hands. He grabbed my hand, and it was nothing I could do. That whole grabbing your hand thing. And I was like afraid. I was like, wow, okay. So this is what it's really like. And then, John and I, from then on, I'd come up for all the games, and I'd see him, he'd come over and shake my hand. Every chance I got, I kept trying to squeeze harder as I could just to show them I was ready, and
right.
I think it was just that alone was one of my, first things about John. I knew that he was somebody that was going to be a mentor to me. He's going to be that father figure, that guy that was going to push me. And like everyone said, being the number one player, everyone thought you were, all of this and all that. I wasn't that type of guy, but I was a work guy.
Right.
I was always
Facts.
going to work. I was always going to work, always going to work. And I would tell you, Tank, every year I was coming after your ass, just so you know. Hey, John will tell you. I said, what is Tank doing? He is not getting Iron Man this year. I'm going to tell you, every year you was there and I was here, Tank, I was coming for you, just so you know. Every year there wasn't a doubt, and John was going to push both of us. For me, in that work ethic, you had that work ethic that I was coming after. And I was going to always push you, and you were going to push me, because we were going to be in the weight room all day. If I had to be there all day, I was going to be there all day. I can tell you that.
Right.
And, with John, he just, he was that father figure. For me, I was there, and I was there to learn. I was there for a purpose. I was there to get my education, which we were going to get at UVA, because they were going to make sure we got that.
Yeah,
but I was also there to get to that next level. And I knew if I was going to follow behind, I had Tank, and then I had Cov. I had a good group. I couldn't ask for a better, older group to teach me to become, a good football player, but also become a good human being and a good person and a good man. For me, and I think a lot of the younger guys, and over my years of playing, and John and I were together his first year, here in the pros. And it's funny because for me, it was being a freshman all over again in college, because I had to show everybody what the hell to do here for the Dolphins, because John, those guys didn't know what to do. So for me, it was the same thing again. But John means more to me than anything. You know what I mean? That's just, he made me, he created me, besides my mom and dad, he is who I am. And Cub, you remember when you first got into the league, I came down to Tampa with you to train.
Yep.
And then when I got drafted by Tampa, you came over here and trained with me.
That's right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because we know work ethic, and not everyone can understand that. You know what I mean? And Ray, I can show, I'm sure when everybody went to their own, Ray, when you went to Seattle and all that, you like, this is how y'all work? You like, wait a minute, this ain't work. Like, I know what work is, and this ain't it. You know what I mean? We just come from a different breed. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And Cub, I can remember when you went to Tampa, y'all were doing one set to failure. I remember you came back and you came back and you told John, we're working out. What you doing? Oh, we're putting weight on, and you go into failure and you go to the next exercise. I'm like, what kind of working out is that?
Trash. It was trash. That's what it was.
Yeah. You remember what I told you on that, Cub? I said, well, if that's what you're supposed to be doing, I don't want to interfere.
Yeah, but I had to get it old school. And the crazy thing, John, is like I always kept the things that you taught me. You were always big on the technique side of things. Yeah. So I always was really focused on my technique. And just, the free weights. And so when Tampa went to this whole, it was just hammer strength and the machines. And I was like, what is this garbage? And that was the first year. That was the year I tore my ACL. The first time I ever had a hamstring injury, because we weren't doing free weights. We weren't doing that kind of lifting. And I was not, it was, you'd be pumped for that little short period, but then, I wasn't really getting strong, and my body wasn't the same, the way that you built it and constructed, and
no
so
doubt.
I heard a hamstring, and then I blew my knee out. And to this day, I just feel like I was not as strong as I normally was used to being, but I was still asking my body to do the same things.
Yeah, we talked about all of that, because eventually another guy came in, and you were calling me for another purpose when you guys were lifting 90-some% after a game.
Yeah.
Remember when the other strength coach came in?
Yeah.
And I'm like, after a game, you're lifting 90-some%? I mean,
I've always wondered. Well, I've been blessed, guys. I've been with John my whole life. When he came to Miami, I was with him there. So I mean, you guys, I was always blessed to have John because, you know, when they asked me, the funny thing is, and I'll never forget this, and John knows it. So when I came in as a rookie, you know, I went back up to Virginia and I took our weight room, our lifting book up to John.
Yep.
Remember, John, I took it up to John. John goes, "What is this?" He goes, "This." I said, "John, this is our program. This is what I'm supposed to do while I'm here for the summer." And he looked at it and he goes, "Are you kidding me?" I go, "Not at all. It was for the lifting was horrible and conditioning was play racquetball or basketball. That was the conditioning." And I went back.
See, that
So I
shouldn't
went
be
back
public.
to Miami.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we keep it a full.
It's okay.
We keep it a full
But
buck
I
on here.
didn't
I
say
told
who-
you, John. We keep it a full buck.
It is what it is.
Statute of
John.
limitations.
I'm not
Statute of
gonna hide it.
limitations.
John,
Okay.
hey, I'm not gonna hide it. So then when I came back, and it's crazy because I was in really good shape when I got here my rookie year. And I'll never forget Shula and then Tony and all them guys came up to me and said, you know, "Who's your strength coach? Why are you in such good?" I said, "Listen, the best in the business is John Gamble." I said, "It is what it is." You know, all through college, we didn't have any guys getting hurt that, you know, bone structure hurt. There's nothing you can do about that. But as far as pulling muscles, getting hurt by not being strong and this and that, I said, John Gamble is the best in the business.
Mhm.
And sure enough, they hired John Gamble. So I was so blessed to have John, you know, my first 3 years. And, you know, my first year, you know, as a rookie was amazing. And in my second year, I blew my knee out the fourth game. And John looked at me, and I'll never forget this. We were in Minnesota. He goes, "Don't worry about this. I got you."
Mhm.
And that day, you know, I wasn't worried at all because I knew John Gamble would get me back. You know, so my career ended up being blessed because of him and what we did. And Cov, you know the same thing. Just after your second year when you came down.
Yep.
You know, that's how we train because we don't know any better. You know what I mean? And that's what you've done for us, John. You know what I mean?
I appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah,
you guys make it easy though. Sean is there?
Yeah, Sean's there. You there, Denty Moore? He might have stepped away
Tank, but just so you know, I think I got 2 jackets. How many jackets you got, Tank? You got 2 jackets?
Ooh.
Yes, he said 3, TK. He said 3.
Well, I got 3, but I don't count the one where we both got one, though. You counting that one?
Well, so you want the story behind that?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes, please.
So I mean, you know, and that's great stuff, man, because John was like, I mean, I was already self-motivated, but John just like, I was just over the edge when I was around John. I just wanted to do more. You know, if John remembers, I came in and I squatted 605 my first year, and John said, "You're done. You're done squatting."
Yeah.
He was like, "You're
Six what?
You don't need to squat anymore. You're done." And I, you know, and so I just only squatted for maintenance. And but you know, the other weights, you know, bench and power clean, you know, I was still going after it. But it just like I just wanted to go out there and perform and get better in the weight room. And TK and I, we trained in the summers, man. And TK, we went at it. He come pick me up.
Oh yeah.
TK, you still got the Montero?
Oh, I wish I did. I wish I did.
TK come scoop me up in the Montero, man, and we would go train. And like it would be anytime. We were always, Terry and I, we were always up for a workout. I mean, we would just call each other. You want to work out? We would schedule it, and that was some of the that was just some great summer days that we had. And he's right, man. We went hard. We went hard at it, and so yeah, you know, my when I first got there, man, you know, and after talking to Cub, because Cub stayed in my ear, you know, in '86, you know, we're building something here, and he was telling me about John. He said, "You got to come meet when you get here on your recruiting trip. You got to come meet, you know, our strength coach." I met John. Ray was there on my recruiting trip as well, and I just remember John was so easy to talk to, and I was like, man, this is awesome. Because man, I had Carolina, you name it, you know, Auburn, Tennessee. I'm like, man, I'm at Clemson, you know,
Major League Baseball.
Yeah, and Carolina won me baseball, and I was like, man, but I had really never focused on UVA. And I know I got there, and Dwight Hawley was there at the time. And he said, I think I'm coming here because Dwight
Psycho.
said, he was like, man, I like that John Gamble guy. I remember Dwight telling me that. He said, I like that John Gamble guy. And I said, man, I like him too, man. And so, it was just a match made in heaven for me. And as John know, I stayed over there in the weight room. I was just walking as always.
Yeah.
We would just walk in there just to have conversation with John. Like, I mean, DB Derek couldn't have said it any better, man. I think everybody had to make that Chinese run for John.
Please believe
all of us.
No
all
doubt.
of us.
Yeah,
No doubt.
Numerous of times.
Yeah. But Derek couldn't have put it any better, man, because John was just always there for us to talk about whatever was on our minds and whatever was bothering us. And that's why I mentioned that situation with Ray, because Ray was so frustrated that day. Ray and I were in the weight room, and he said, I got to get stronger. I got to get stronger. And John was telling him, be patient. Be patient. You're a great athlete. And Ray was. He had all the athletic ability. And John just, he had that way of connecting with guys, and he knew how to get to people in different ways because we're not all the same.
True.
And so he knew what made everybody tick.
Facts.
And so when people say, I hear, oh, this person's the glue, this person's the glue. No. John Gamble was the glue.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
He was the glue. And I tried my best. And John probably don't remember this because I was playing baseball with the Cubs, but I was coming back working at Jefferson National, and Hovey Dabney was the director at the time.
Right.
And when I heard John was leaving, I went right upstairs to Hovey's office. I said, Hovey, you have to keep this. I was just pleading with him to keep John. And then I called John. John told me, he said, I've already made the decision, Ty. I'm going. And because Hovey was trying to set up a meeting with John, and I had to go back in his office and tell him that John had already accepted the position in Miami. And I said, this is a sad day I remember this conversation with him. I said, this is a sad day for Virginia football and for the University of Virginia. I said, John, Mr. Dabney, you have no idea what just happened and how our program is going to be drastically affected by this decision for John leaving. And I meant that because he meant everything, not only to me, but to us and all the guys on here. And so, yeah, I definitely appreciate it. And I have my Gambleisms that I call them that I still stay with me. And TK was right. Even when I was playing baseball, John, people would look at me in the weight room. They would see my form, my technique. The strength coach would come up to me and he says, why is your squat so perfect? He would literally say that. And I said, I was taught how to squat, right?
Yep.
And it was all, and Cub was talking about the technique we had. It was all about technique. And here I am out there playing baseball, and I got the strength coach wanting me to actually come in and show guys how to work out, because baseball was about to turn then where guys started to get into weights, but they were still kind of afraid of it because it was like, oh, you're going to be too tight. You need to be loose. You're not going to be limber enough and all that stuff. But the Cubs was one of those organizations that was just getting into the weights and the benefits of weights. And because as you saw, like, years later when Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa and those guys outside of the steroids came through, weights was like a big deal then at that time. And so having good form, good technique, all that stuff. And I was sitting there imparting knowledge, and I had my third and fourth year strength book with me when I went out to Arizona. And Ray Otis and I linked up out there. He would come pick me up, and we were training out of John's workbook, out of our training book. Me and Perk was training out of the book, and I let the strength coach for Chicago Cubs photocopy it. He just wanted, I let him see it. He saw it in my bag, and I just let him see it. I said, yeah, this is why I've never had an injury. This is why I never had anything hurt on me, and I was able to go out and play and perform because we had a fantastic foundation. And it wasn't until, knowing Cubs injury, knowing Ray's injury, I talked to Ray a lot, and he was telling me about his injuries. Ray was never hurt at UVA. TK never hurt at Cub, never hurt at UVA. No. And then the boys get to the league and boom,
Yeah.
So you know,
Yeah.
it was, those were definitely special times for me. And John is. I just want to know, John, do you still make that clam sauce? I think Derek was talking
Oh
about
yeah.
that clam sauce you put on the pasta.
Oh yeah.
I had that. Awesome.
Now it's not a marinara. It's just a white wine sauce now.
Oh my
Oh,
God,
wow.
Derek, that sauce you talking about, I had it too. He introduced me to it, man, and that was awesome.
Hey Tank, my life changed behind that sauce, man.
Hey D, man, you know me and you always talk about, you know, the winter workouts when we used to have to work out in the cage, you know, especially
No
our
doubt.
first year. And you know, we were pushing dudes, you know,
Oh, no
we were
doubt.
pushing the upperclassmen, you know, as first year. And then, you know, because we were like, all right, we red shirting and we see what's going on, but you
Right.
know, this some bullshit. You know,
No doubt.
we can play at this level and with a quickness. And so, you know, I think after that first year, we went 3-8. That next winter workout, you know, which was
Oh,
our
yeah,
first
it
winter
was on.
workout.
Was that 86?
86,
so the
87.
86
That
year
was
is when we
86 to
came
3
in.
and 8.
Yep.
Yep.
And
Wow.
so then that 87, the winter, that year, you know, me
That
and
went
D
down.
Boyd was like, yo, we about to crush this, man. Talk to him a little bit about that cage experience, boy.
I don't know if I want to talk about the cage as much as that 6 a.m. run.
That 6 a.m. run.
And if I'm correct,
Hey,
if I'm
that
correct,
6 a.m. walk to the cage was worse.
hey, yeah.
Hey.
When the guys had cars, TK, and they drive past the underclassmen coming out of first year dorms, yeah, the run you run and walk in to get there, and then you got to do that 30-minute run.
Yes.
But you know the thing that sticks out for me with the cage workout was it was competition.
Yeah.
And guys were trying to let people know we're going to do it a different way than it's ever been done around here. When you look at that first group that was supposed to be the top 10 guys, look at how many guys were freshmen. And you start talking about, you know, Cub and I come in there. I never lifted a weight until I got to UVA. And I think when I left, I could do 225 for 20. I could power kick 300. But the workouts that you did, they kind of kept us the same as far as your flexibility, and you got better.
Right.
You know, I remember 4 sets of 15, 185. That's what the receivers did. But then we could get 225 for 20, or we could do 345, 350, and you still got a 37-inch vertical, and you're still gonna run sub 4.4. That's because of what we were doing in the cage and how you were facilitating it, but you made us compete. And you know, when you guys come in and you see that your team is we 10-1, when Kirby your first year was 10-1 or something, you have a tradition of winning. We came in on that 3-8. So we had to build a brand new, we had to create a foundation, not build one, create a foundation. And all that starts with the off season and the things that we were doing in the cage. I loved it. You know, I mean, you got a chance to really find out who really wanted to get busy and how they wanted to change their game. And it all starts with the strength coach.
But yeah, you know, for me, like you said, honestly, you guys were the reason why I came. You know, for me, being the #1 recruit and everybody like, oh, everybody's after me, every school there was. And for me, going to Virginia, being from Virginia and seeing, you know, from 3-8 to, you know, 6-8 to all of a sudden now, you know what, I can be part of something great. You know, I'm from Virginia, born and raised, you know, I can go to UVA. I'm the #1 player in the country. Why not stay home and create something great? So Cub would know when I came to Virginia and I hung out with Sean and then Ray being from the Tidewater area, and then I met Cub, and I can remember we were at the JPA party. I think it was Johnny's party. He had a party in that little on the JPA.
Yeah,
He had
Johnny
a party
Wilson.
there that night. Johnny Wilson had a party that night. Y'all brought me in on my recruiting visit, and I was like, you know what? I'm home. You know what I mean? I could just feel, you know, to me, it wasn't about, you know, going somewhere, you know, the big football school. To me, I needed to feel like a family for me. You know, and that was more.
I think we lost him.
We lost him. Yeah. But John, how was it for you, man, to really see that program shift from that 3-8, where we didn't lose again. at that point. It was 3-8, then it was All-American Bowl, then it was 7-4, then it was Citrus Bowl,
Yeah, we had
ACC
a bunch of
championship,
yeah,
and
we had
Sugar
a bunch
Bowl.
of less. Yeah, I think for me is that I'm always competitive, and I mean I had to kind of control myself because if we lost a game, I think I was the most pissed off person you didn't want to be around, and I know we were better than that.
Right.
And the whole thing was about.
Oh, I lost y'all there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll flip back to you in a sec, fam. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. The whole thing for me was like when you're 3-8, man, you start wondering, what is life really about?
Right.
And that affected me as much as it affected you guys. So I just remember, if you guys remember that 3-8 season, the thing that stick out in my mind the most, William and Mary. You guys remember William and Mary?
Yep.
Yeah. They won the game, and the trainer was giving an offensive lineman a high five, and he flipped over backwards and broke his neck. I mean, because when you think about it, they beat a really good football team. We didn't show it at that time, but we were a good football team, and we came back, and I mean, we worked hard to come back to get back on track. Is the way I kind of look at it. We had some mishaps, but we worked hard to get back on track.
Yeah, so I'm sitting at home, John, and what I remember about that, I was in high school during Cubs' first season and Sean's first season. And I remember that 328 that Derek Finner put up on us.
I'm standing there on the sideline in the rain watching it.
Right. Coach Welsh in the wheelchair and Dick Crum on the other side. He in crutches. And that's what I remember. And it was like, and Cub was in my ear, and that was the last game. I'm like, they want me to go to that? And I was thinking, Cub's like, what are we building? Cub said, we're building this. And Cub just staying in my ear. He called me every week. He's like, yo, man, you got to come up here. We're building. I'm thinking, but I didn't say it to Cub. I'm like, man, Derek Finner just put 328 on UVA. And I was like, we're building, y'all building something there? And, and then that's right when I had just got announced, they made an announcement for the Shrine Bowl. And then that's when Clemson started calling. And I'm like, man, I might be going to Clemson now, man. And but when it was the foundation that, John, I'm trying to tell you, I always tell people we weren't 5 stars. I mean, save Terry, but we weren't 5 stars, but we made ourselves into those 4 and 5 stars if you kind of get into that stuff. And we made that stuff in the weight room. And I'll never forget this. The year we were 7-4, that second season we were 7-4, we didn't get a bowl bid.
Right.
John, you convinced everybody. We came back that summer, and that was this year we went 10-3. That was the year everybody came back. And then the following year, when we got to number 1, everybody came back because we knew we had something special. We knew
I remember that.
We had something special. And I would always tell everybody, we had great performance. I say, man, we got 12 on our side, man. We can go into anybody's stadium and win. We got 12. But with Denty there, it was just like we had such a good foundation from a strength standpoint. Guys didn't get hurt a lot. And that was the key. I remember talking to Derek Debnam, and I know Ray know who he is because Ray beat him up on the field. He played
NC State.
He played NC State. That's right. And I was hanging out with him, during the fall break. And he's like, spring break. He said, what are y'all doing up there at UVA, man? And
drinking Nutri-Frim.
He said, we can never beat you all.
Let me get that chocolate.
Hey, Hawk, I told you about that nutriment.
Hey, bro. It's like he read my mind. I was waiting in the cut to ask Coach Gamble about the nutriment, and like clockwork.
Nutri-Frim has take.
See,
all the Nutri-Frim.
On my visit, on my very first time I came to UVA, was a loss to William and Mary. And I had already verbally committed to Tennessee, and we're driving home. And we got about Lynchburg. And first of all, I'm like, what the hell is up with the name of this city, Lynchburg? Like, coming from North. hitting those back. I'm like, I don't know if I want to hit this road on the way home, Dad, all the time. But we were just about Lynchburg, and I told my dad, he said, what do you think? I said, man, I think I'm going to go to Virginia. And he pulled over. And he's like, dude, like, we just wanted to see the Tennessee-Auburn game. And, at the time, the stadium, our stadium was like 47,000 max. At Tennessee, they had already had 90, 100,000.
Yeah, right.
And I just said, you know what? It's about the people, man. Like the people I met, Cove, Boyd, Sean, all those dudes that, Dennis Fields, Ryan Jackson, like it was just some really cool dudes that I met when I was there. And so it was more about the people to me than about the wins and stuff. So I remember when I decided, I didn't tell anybody until the signing day that I was going to sign with Virginia. And then I just got trashed by all the Tennessee folks. And then the whole time we were there, obviously our records and things were much better than Tennessee's. Unfortunately, we lost to them in the Sugar Bowl, but
right.
Truly, I'm a people person, man. And if people ain't right, it ain't right for me. And the people were right for me at UVA. And it just made all the difference in the world.
No doubt.
If I can finish that Derek Devlin story, I was telling him, I was like, he said, man, what are y'all doing up there? And I said, the foundation with us starts in the weight room. And he looked at me, he said, well, what kind of working out you all do? And I showed him our training book. And he was like, we don't have anything like that. I was like, really? He said, no, we don't have anything like that. We just go into weight room and do what we can do. I said, really? So y'all don't have anything? Because that was for the DBs. I said the lineman has theirs, the running backs had. He said, really? And I was like, it was amazing to me that they didn't have any structure to their program.
Right.
And I said, we have structure. We have a foundation, man. And that's what all starts with us, man. And he said, man, because we look at you all on film, man, you all execute well. And he said, man, how can we got to be able to beat these guys? And they never did. In the 5 years I was there at UVA, they never, Carolina didn't beat us. I almost went there. And I mean, it was like, so we only lost that one game to Duke. We got down in the first half, but yeah, man, we just beat up on folk, man. And people just couldn't figure out why. And I would always tell people we had the best foundation in the weight room. We had the best weight program. I even told that to Randy Jones, Cubs. Same thing. I saw him at the crib. And he was like, man, you guys don't look so big, man. But yeah, we're strong. We're fast. We can get out. We get after it. And that all came from John. All of it.
Yeah. Well, for me, Cub, I'll tell you that one of the craziest thing is I saw John. So when he came here, coming from UVA, being with John for 4 years at UVA, and seeing, what he did to us. So John comes to Miami Dolphins. Now he's working with totally different athletes. So, we got Dan Marino, we got, Irving Fry, we got all these guys that have been in the league, 6, 7, 8 years. Now here comes John Gamble saying, all right, you guys are coming in the weight room. And all these guys never really lifted weights. And John, they looking at John like, yeah, right. Let me tell you something. They all came in the weight room. Listen, hey, they weren't skipping the weight room. They had to be in there. They were going to come in there no matter what, even though if they didn't want to, because they never lifted and nowhere else they had been in the pros. John Gamble made all them guys come into the weight room. And to me, that was impressive. I had no choice. But when you got Dan Marino coming in the weight room, had never lifted a weight really at all, coming in the weight room, now you know what? Everybody's coming in the weight room. And that's the effect that John Gamble has on people.
Yep.
Yeah. And TK, you're telling the truth, man, because when I got down there, I'm like, no, we would come in after I'm like, no one's in the weight room. Where are these guys? And it was like, it'd be a few guys in there. But I remember Lewis Oliver came up to me and he was like, man, you stay on your Wheaties, don't you? I said, what do you mean, man? He said, you're always in the weight room. I said, but that's how we did it at UVA. That's how we
no doubt.
And these guys, and Terry, you are not like, they did not come into the weight room at all.
Absolutely not.
And
then Lewis became one of John's proteges. Lewis ended up loving the weight room once John Gamble got here.
Right.
Look, she's probably still doing the work.
He became my tank. He became my tank, just so you know. He became my tank. Louis Oliver did. Him and I were the workout guys for John Gamble.
Nice.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
dope.
No
That's
question.
dope. Yeah, man. I mean, I just think, John, you just set the table for all of us, man.
No
me
doubt.
coming in just lightweight and, but had that passion and that fight and that fire. And then you put some meat on the bones. So then it was, all right, so now this little crazy dude over here that's talking all this shit. Now he got some little muscle on his. So at that point, I'm really trying to go out there and crack
The
somebody's
worst thing that could
skull
ever happen. He got some muscles.
I mean, the big. I'm playing corner with big ass shoulder pads on because I was trying to hit somebody and kill them every time. But it was just like, but you gave me that confidence. I mean, I was already a confident person, believing in myself, but then getting there, I remember, when I tore my thumb and had to have surgery,
Right.
and you were still a positive influence. Hey, don't this won't set you back. Continue to go out there and do what you got to do. And so it was like I had my champion, in my corner, constantly pushing me, and so it was like, all right, yeah, I got this, man. And dude, I just remember the countless conversations that we would have when we over to the house, cooking out and just talking and chilling. It was home. You made it home for us. And all of us were away from home. You made it home for us, man.
Right.
And we knew that you had our best interests at heart. And when I went on to play in the league and getting that opportunity, it was like, okay, I remember what family's like. I can always fall back on my work ethic, because whatever it takes. I held on to that T-shirt because that was our mantra. It was whatever it takes to win, and I love you so much that the memories are flooding back, as we're sitting here talking, man. And for you, let me ask you, what was it like to have such a mix of guys, wild and crazy guys? All of us were very different. What was it like for you to kind of just look out at us and say, all right, you know what? I got some work to do, but I'm excited about it.
I think the key thing for that is, for me, it was important for me to try to know each individual as best I could.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was, I'm trying to think of his name. We had this fullback that was very, very quiet, and he ate very, very slow. And I remember we would have this Sunday meals after a game, the Sunday evening meals. And I would sit with him, and we're the last two people. The people already cleaned everything up. And we're still sitting there because he ate so slow. You guys remember who I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
He was a fullback.
Charles.
But
What year?
Charles, no, it wasn't Charles Way. Now, hold on now. I'm 64, and that memory isn't as sharp as it used to be.
I would go ask you what year.
That fullback had to be
But here's the
before my
point.
time.
Here's the point I'm trying to make. I knew it was. I knew everybody had to be motivated differently.
Mm-hmm.
I understood that everybody wasn't the same, and I knew we had a good group of athletes. And in order to achieve a goal like for a team, I thought that we should have a team environment in the weight room. Although, like you said, those winter workouts, they were very competitive. And we would, who could finish the quickest. And I carried all of that information with me when I went to the Dolphins. And it became so different that they wanted to do more and more and more of that, which I thought was pretty interesting because, the difference between, and you guys can tell me this and tell me that it's much different, but I thought the big difference for me is that when I went to the NFL, that guys just drove fancier cars. They were still looking for structure. They didn't want to have to think about it. They knew they wanted to be in situations that was going to help them get ready for the season. And I mean, I can't tell you, like TK can tell you, my first year, it was such a good group of older players that they were always trying to talk me out of stuff. You remember that, TK?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my goodness. We had a player. I don't know if I should mention his name, but it was Keith Byers.
Okay.
And,
Oh yeah, of course.
Keith didn't want to squat. He wanted to lay on the leg press. I'm like, you got to squat. And I said, just squat the bar. I don't care, but you're going to squat. And so he ended up squatting 95 pounds. And he said, that's all he can do. Unfortunately, Keith tore his ACL. So now he's got to work to get back. And don't you know he's out there repping 500 pounds in the squat because he needed to get his leg strength back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I remember.
but it was so funny. I mean, I had days where the guys wanted to talk me out of, well, coach, instead of us doing this, look, why don't we just cut it in half? I'm like, okay, well, let's do a different math. So I came up with the same number of reps for the same exercises. We just did the reps different. I think the key thing for me, and when you look at, I mean, that experience for me at UVA was so special. There's no way. I mean, I had some good days in NFL. I won't lie to you. But emotionally committed, and again, I've had some days like that in the NFL, but it's just different. Mm-hmm. You know, we had a chance to change some things. You know, George and, you know, all the coaches, they brought in good athletes like yourselves, but you also got to have a team commitment to committing to doing something different. And the commitment was, how much better can I be? And you guys, we came up with the mantra, whatever it takes. And whatever it takes just means what it is. It's, you know, I just remember, I talked to some of these younger strength coaches today, and they got to have your time 365 days a year. They got to have a workout for you because they're afraid not to. I'm like, man, you got to give the guys a break every so often. I mean, I just remember as a college strength coach, when it came down to exams, hey, you guys, I see you when I see you. But if you just need a study break, you know, come on in, I'll give you something to do. But it's not like that anymore. It's all mandatory. Mm-hmm. I think that, you know, to me, the good opportunity, when I took over as the head strength coach, one of the things that I thought was important was I needed to know more about you than just your name and that you played on the football team. So I want to know how you're doing, you know, what's going on at home, how you like being in Charlottesville, so forth and so on. I mean, that was just my attitude. I mean, I think it was my personality and why I can't really tell you. I just thought it was important. And I just think that when you're training a group of guys and you know you can't train them all the same, and as a coach, you can't motivate one way. Mm-hmm. You got to find out what it is that motivates that individual, not the team, not the whole group. I remember we were getting ready for a game, and all the guys were getting all hyped up, like making a lot of noise. We'd just come off the field for pregame warm-up. And I was like, what are you guys doing? We haven't even kicked the ball off yet, and you guys are already exhausted. So I'm like, you gotta wait until it's time to play football before you can just go out there and waste all your energy. But it's, you know, for me, the whole key thing is like this right here. I remember somebody asking me, who was your favorite player? Who was your best person in the weight room at University of Virginia? And I'm like, I can't answer that question. I can't pick.
You heard
one.
that, then you can't.
I gotta say,
Don't
I
you
can't
say
pick
nothing,
one.
Jake.
I know, but I can't pick one. It just, when you pick one, then you think of two more. When you pick two, you think of 10 more. And you just, I'm like, I had a great experience. I remember when they gave me that Cross Saber Award.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came back, there were 10 walk-ons at that presentation. 10 walk-ons. You know why? I think it's just my personal reason, because I treated them like they were part of the team.
Right.
If I treated them like crap, they wouldn't have come to that.
Right.
And I just thought that it was not my job to pick and choose the football players. It was my job to help the individuals. And
But John, you know what I think was good too? It's funny because, and Cov can tell you this, you know, outside of the athletic world, people on campus knew who you were, because when you would see them, you would say hi to them. It's not a day that we go to Black alumni. They all ask you about you all the time. You know, it's funny because Fumi was just here. Fumi was here 2 weeks ago in South Florida. She goes, "How is John Gamble doing?" I'm like, and she goes, "You know what? I just remember John Gamble from my UVA days." It's crazy how many people on campus, not just athletes, who knew John Gamble. You know, you were that guy. You know, you were a fixture at UVA, not just in athletics, but all around.
I like to piggyback off of something John said earlier. You know, treating people who were walk-ons like they were part of the team.
Yep.
The compliment I pay to you, John, is 30 years I've been in education. And the things I learned from you in the weight room, they carried over into how I interact with people every day in the school. And you try to make sure that a kid walk into a classroom, you identify what their genius is. Some kids are just brilliant and smart. Other guys are able to set up the AV equipment, get the blinds right, turn off the lights, and that's what they can do. And you always did that. You found a way to highlight what we were good at, and then that allowed us the opportunity to build on the things that we need in an area of improvement. A lot of people come in your life for a season. I don't think many of us have met a person that has come in our life and impacted us the way you have. You know, 1986, 18-year-old kid, and now I'm a 53-year-old man. And every day when I interact with people, be it the adults in the school system, be it the superintendent, there are things that we learn from you on how to communicate with people. And I think you said it best was you try to get to know each guy above and beyond the fact that we're athletes. So I like to really salute you. Thank you for impacting my life the way you did when you probably didn't even recognize and realize.
Right.
No, thank you for that.
I'm ready to suit up now. Let's suit up.
Hey, Tank, you still owe me a loaf of bread and a pack of ham.
Dang.
That's right.
Hey, Tank, just so you know, before the quarantine, John Gamble and I was still working out.
Oh, here you go.
I'm just letting you know.
He want to race
Tank.
you right now, Tank.
I know. So
I'm just letting you know, Tank.
So TK, the after my second year, you know, and I still got my Adidas joints. I got them stored away. So I got this. I wanted that Adidas sweatsuit, right? I wanted that award. And so John was like, "All right, you want it again this year?" I was like, "John, I don't know, man. You got some guys out here, man, that work really hard." And he allowed me to pick two other players to receive that award with me that year. And that's when I said TK, because TK and I, we were always busted out, and Terry Tomlin was the other person. So
TK, that's a shot at you, TK.
I know it is. I know it is.
Charity, TK.
I know it is, boy.
He felt bad for you, bro. Don't take that, TK.
It was coming from a senior. I'll take it.
Kirby,
hey, Ty, you not slick, man. That's messed up, Ty. I asked him, can I pick two other guys? And TK was one of them.
You know, the worst thing is, so we come in the weight room, we looking for all the chocolate Nutri-Frame. Guess who got it all? Hey, Cub, who got it? We trying to gain weight too. We trying to gain weight. Hey, boy, we trying to get big.
No doubt.
You know, we trying to get big. We like John Gamble. What a chocolate. Oh, Tank got it.
Damn, Tank. I ain't know you was a little Ninja Turtle back in the day, dog.
No, Tank was the first one in there stealing all the chocolate.
Listen,
He
man,
said he stayed in the weight room, though.
That weight room was my home. That was
we
my
see.
home there with John. I mean,
Tank always was eating everybody out of house at home.
Damn,
with
Tank.
all the working out he does, he had
Right.
to. I mean, after his freshman year, he come by my place. You know, I got the Wonder Bread, I got the lunch meat. He sit down on my bed, grab the bread. He doesn't get one sandwich. He got about 3-4 sandwiches.
Dang.
Take all the lunch meat, eat my stuff, walk out. Of course, he took my Nutriment.
And took your nutriment. Hey man, so he was like bruh man for the fifth floor. So when you saw Martin, bruh man for the fifth floor, you called Tank.
There you go.
Yeah, head nod. That was who it was. Yeah.
There you go.
Hey,
but I tell you what, Hulk, yeah, on Saturday though, that joke with number 9 was ready to roll though.
Oh yeah.
Hey man, TK ain't trying to hit that damn velour suit, that Adidas suit. He don't even want it no more.
I still got it in my mom's house right now. I'm real upset about that. Tank.
God dang, all these years.
I'm upset about that.
Give my man a pity award. I feel sorry for him. So.
Hey, John Gamble, don't you come back to my gym no more. You didn't get me a pity jacket.
Hey, coach took that to the grade though. Coach a real one. He took it to the grade. He done worked you out in Miami, everything. Looking at you like, damn, I want to tell him that damn Adidas suit ain't supposed to be his.
Hey, where's Sean at? Sean must be in a meeting with the president or something.
Yeah, he acting like he important right now.
Right.
Yeah, but coach, man, let me ask you a question. We know what you did in Miami, but how was that transition to the Bills? We know the weather's different, but
wow. I don't know if I want to tell that story publicly.
Oh yeah, we got to hear that.
Oh yeah, you shouldn't have said that. You ain't tell us about you ain't tell him about his Adidas, so you could tell us about this at least.
There you go, exactly.
You know, the hardest thing in going to Buffalo was, you know, I tell you one of the things we did when I got there, they had TVs all over the place. And I said that has to go. We're not coming in here to watch television. You do that in the lounge. And so we took all the televisions out. They had insufficient equipment. So we had to buy all new equipment. And the players, I'm not sure how interested they were in lifting and trying to get better. They like being in a training room for whatever reason. But to be nice, I would say I had some guys that were really hardworking men, and time, you know, as time goes on, some of those guys will call and check on me, and I thought that was always a good thing. But the transition, first of all, the cold weather. You guys, anybody that know me know I don't like cold weather.
Right.
And I went up there to interview when it was 84 in Miami. It was 8 degrees in Buffalo. But the guy that was the head coach, you know, we were good friends. We had developed a friendship. And he called me up and said, I got us a job. You want to come? And I'm saying, yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm interested. And then when he said Buffalo, I'm like, oh my goodness, anywhere but Buffalo. But you know, I would say in less than a year, that team transitioned to fighters, and they became hungry again. And it wasn't like my experiences in Miami or at University of Virginia. It was different. And I'm going to keep it politically correct, and I'm not going to say too much more about that. But I'm happy. I'm happy to be in Florida on the hottest day than it was being up there on the coldest day.
No doubt. I know.
John, if I can ask you this quick, sorry, Cov. John, how is strength training changed? How is it today? Compared to when we were coming up.
Hey, there's some things trying to do our job, man. Ain't that some bullshit?
There's some things that
you want to be the co-host.
Different. You know, at a certain point, I would say my last 3 years, you had a group of guys that they believed in. You know, it's like you got to do a lot of correction for like if your body is off balance from the right to the left or from the right shoulder to the left leg and so forth and so on. They wanted you to do a bunch of corrective exercises, and none of that had anything to do with lifting to be strong and fit to play football. It was all kind of rehab stuff. And some of the strength coaches, they thought that was the direction that strength training was going. And I would say in a 3-year period, there were 6 of those guys. And then at the end of that 3 years, there were 0. But strength training, I think there's some guys that are basically holding on to the same principles. The one thing that I think is that guys are starting to figure out it depends on how comfortable you are in your job, I would say. Like for me, I had no fear of training anybody. Does that make sense? Yep. And you have guys that they don't want you to stub your toe. So their workouts are going to be accommodating to not stubbing your toe. Wow. So the guys like me, we're kind of like, I don't want to say we are prehistoric, because there's still a few guys in the league that believe in the same principles that we had back in the 80s. Right. And I just think that there's a group that's out there that's, they play it safe. I think it's wise if you're not confident, because if you play it safe, then you keep your job. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
You also have some of the players that believe in their gurus, and some of these guys, I remember we got some guys back that they were gone, because in Buffalo, nobody stays in Buffalo when the season's over, and you won't see them till April. Well, we had some guys come in that they've been training with their guru, and I had this one player do a circuit, and he was a defensive end, 60-pound dumbbells. I figured that was kind of light. Do it for 10. Well, he did 3. Wow. And he was struggling with the right shoulder. So I took him to the training room. I said, find out what's wrong with him. And they brought him back, and they said, there's nothing wrong with him. I'm like, something is wrong with him, because he's weak as I don't know what.
Damn.
And just come to find out that what some of these guys do when they hire these gurus, they'll keep writing them checks, but they do whatever they want to do. Right. And I think that's one thing that's really hurt the league, the NFL, a lot, because they've cut down so much on the opportunity to train guys and get them fit for football that I had 17 weeks, and I did 15 workouts in 17 weeks when I first came in. That eventually dropped to 12, then it dropped to 10. Now it's at 9. And you really only get the first 5 weeks partially, and that's your base work for a whole year. You don't get to do any other foundational work other than those first 5 weeks of that 9 weeks, because after that it's OTAs and mini camps.
Yeah.
Then they go home for 5 to 6 weeks, and now you're starting training camp. That's not enough.
Nope.
I mean, in my perspective, for the strength coaches now, I just think they're getting cheated from doing the best job they can, because they don't get the same amount of time that they used to get. And it's all about money. And I don't know if you guys remember the CBA, but the new CBA, the latest CBA in 2011, was that the owners wanted more money than they were giving the players. So the owners had 48%, the players had 52%. They wanted to switch it. So in switching it, now all of a sudden, the players are like, well, we want this, we want that. And the owners just said, yes, yes, yes. They never asked the coaches. They didn't even talk to the head coach. But that's politics. And it kind of leads me to, I remember at the beginning, Cov, you were asking me that question.
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
Not yet.
He was going to ask me a question, and and that would be a good lead-in for that question.
Okay, we gonna come back to it. We'll come back to it. We're gonna end it with that.
I'm surprised Cub stopped you because I see why nobody could tell you no. He just, yeah.
You over there hypnotized, Hawk?
I am, bruh. Hawk, run through the damn wall. You're gonna be okay. Yes, sir.
Hey, John, I wanted to talk, reference back. You referenced it earlier, the Order of the Cross Sabers, the award you received in 2011. And for folks that don't know, it was created in 2004 and is awarded annually. Represents the highest honor given by the Virginia Football Alumni Club. And I remember being at that because I hadn't been around UVA in a minute. But when I heard you were getting that award, I made my way to Charlottesville because I needed to be there for that. To this day, you're the only African American that has received that award, which is tragic within itself. But how was it, and what did it mean to you to receive that award and to have so many of us come back?
I was very humble. Like I said, when I saw about 10 walk-ons there, oh my goodness. I mean, that's how I treated people. And I thought that was important. And when I saw like old heads like Barry Word, guys from way back when, and it really hit a point with me that I was so grateful for the opportunities that I had at Virginia. And to be given that award, it was so special to me. Actually, it's hanging up in my office right now here at home on the wall. And I can look at it and think about how we got there. And I think it just comes down to how you treat people, and don't expect, when it comes to winning and losing, it's about being prepared. And my goal was to make you guys as prepared as you could be for the task at hand. And I always use the analogy and so many different things that even my boys understand 4th and 1. And when it gets down to 4th and 1, whatever it is, if it's on the football field, you got to buckle up 4th and 1. Well, and things that happen to you in life, you might have a 4th and 1 type situation, and you have to prepare, and you got to do what it takes to get through that moment in your life. And to see all of those guys, it just reminded me. Here's another thing about me that I think you guys know, but you probably you wouldn't think about it. I have more secrets buried in my head than I can remember. And
Kerr found that out today.
Oh yeah, exactly, Hawk.
Oh, but it's just when you see guys, I saw some guys and it reminded me of some situations, and this happened before you guys, and it was it's just amazing that the guys trust me enough to know that it's only going to go that far. And my wife even tells me he doesn't tell anybody anything. Well, that's kind of why they tell me things. They just need to talk. And they know it's not going anywhere. And I mean, even if I remember somebody was having a baby, and I didn't tell her because I wasn't given permission. So he didn't even tell me, like, yeah, no, that wasn't my job. I was told not to tell anybody. But but being at UVA and seeing that group of people, that was a really good group. I had one of the ladies came up and thanked me because I mentioned James O. West. And James O. loved University of Virginia. And I remember he came to me, he said, I need you to come with me. Something just happened. And one of the seniors was walking out of the U-Haul weight room with a bar with towels draped over it. And James O., I could see him tearing up because he said all he had to do was ask, and I'm sure you would have given him something, whatever he needed. But that former player was walking out with a bar out of the weight room because I guess he had some stuff at home that he wanted to, lift, I guess. But anyway, James O, oh my goodness. He was so committed to the UVA program. I'm sure most people thought he was mean as a snake, but he was one of the best people that I'd met during my tenure at Virginia. Mm-hmm. And to see the people, because I mean, there was a lot of people there that I didn't even know. They were just people that were part of the Student Aid Foundation, or like I said, I couldn't even remember this lady, even if she, I don't even remember her telling me her name, but she thanked me for mentioning James O. West. Mm-hmm. And, of course, you gotta mention Joe and Doc. They were both standing right there.
Oh yeah, that's why that was my next question to you. Just talk about your relationship with Doc McHugh and Doc.
Oh my
Doc
goodness. I don't think anybody knows this, but Doc said, "What is it going to take to keep you here?" I'm like, "Doc," I said, I kind of thought about it, and I'm looking at at a different chapter in my life, and it's not that I wanted to go. I mean, I was motivated by the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. John,
and
be honest and say tell Tank you wanted to come down and see me, please. Just tell Tank, John. You can go ahead and tell the secret, John. Tell the secret.
No, there's no secret. I can't do that.
All right. You're right.
But I just think that that whole thing, that opportunity was wow. And like I mentioned, the walk-ons. I remember a couple of the guys came up and said, "Coach, do you remember me?" I'm like, "I sure do." And I mean, we had one of my first walk-ons that I kind of befriended. He was on the team for 5 years, and he never even got in on a kickoff. He didn't even run downfield on kickoff. They never put him in the game. But he was very loyal. He was very grateful. And he made a commitment. I mean, I saw it. You know what I mean? It's like, sometimes I saw things that most people just kind of took for granted. They didn't really pay attention to.
Right.
But, when you got the studs like you guys are, sometimes some of those guys, they kind of get lost in the shuffle. And I just think for me, I just treated everybody the same. I just thought that if you're gonna get out there and go through my workouts, I'm gonna treat you the same. Because if you make it through, I'm definitely gonna treat you with a lot of respect. And I think that's the one thing that I saw there.
No doubt. And then to describe your relationship with Coach Welsh.
Oh man, George and I, as time went on, in 1987, I don't think anybody, I think some of you guys know about 87, but in 1987, you guys remember we lost Craig Fielder.
Yeah.
And 2 months later, I lost my dad. And 2 days later, Nathan was born. And that was a tough time. And I was getting the summer program ready, and George would call me over to his house because he knew, I'm running back and forth to Richmond. I would run up to Northern Virginia to see Craig. And George kind of knew that I was doing all of this. And he says, "Oh, well, you all set with the summer program?" I think he wanted to say more, but he just didn't. He just said, "That's fine. Okay, go with it." I think he just wanted to check on me without checking on me. Does that make sense?
Yep.
No doubt.
It's not what he didn't really say much, but I just kind of thought that he was calling me over to his house to just kind of check to see where I was and how I was doing.
Right.
And then when that time came around, when those things happened, The hardest thing for me was losing Craig, because losing Craig prepared me for losing my dad. It's hard to explain, but it did. And then I was just like, come on, Dad, can't you hang in there 2 more days? I mean, Nathan will be here. Just hang in there for 2 more days. But when he passed, I was with my dad in a room holding his hand all night. And, at a certain point, he passed on, but I had to be there.
Right.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? And I think George understood all that I was going through. And, he just said, just checking, just making sure you got everything squared away. And I think he was just, in his way of doing it, I think he was checking on me. But I really like George. I sat down with him when I was making a decision to leave. And I said, well, George, what do you think I should do? He said, I can't tell you that, but you got to do what you think is best for you and your family. I'm like, yeah, I know. And, some of the things, there was a lot of stuff going on between me leaving and not leaving. And Jim Copeland, God rest his soul. I mean, I think eventually he just kind of decided that there's nothing more he could do. He even tried to get Joe and Doc to talk to me one more time, just talk to him one more time. So I sat down with Joe and Doc and I said, well, what are we going to talk about? And they basically said, you all said, and I mean, Doc, wow. Joe Geek's favorite thing was, when you got problems, go talk to the ice machine. Because you're not going to get any solutions other than the more you can get thinking that you're going to get the right answer, you might as well talk to the ice machine. I miss those guys.
Oh my
Joe
God.
Geek, you guys remember when you guys were practicing, it'd be me, Joe, and Doc sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
And we'll be watching practice and so forth. Joe sent me a picture. I don't even know how he got it, but he sent me a picture of the 3 of us just sitting there on the bench. And, wow, there was, Doc would ask me about things. I'm like, Doc, I wasn't even in high school yet.
Wow.
But Doc, he would tell stories, him and Joe. Shucks, we just sat and we just talked. And Doc, I was pissed when I came to Miami because I wanted the team Doc to be like Doc McHugh. The guy was nowhere near. They would come and visit training camp during the season. They would come over on Mondays, 1 day a week. I'm like, how are you gonna develop a relationship with guys that you may have to do surgery on, and you don't even come spend any time with them?
Right.
But I just thought that was odd. But I just think that the way we did things at Virginia was very special. You guys were extremely awesome. We got to a point that I might have pulled a few strings here and there, but you guys pushed each other. If somebody looked over and saw somebody else doing something, then somebody else wanted that too. So it was always, you guys were motivated by competing. And that's just your nature. Your nature is being better than you were the day before.
Sure.
Or being better than you were last week. Or I know I'm better than this guy, or I'm better than that guy. And it just helps the team to be more competitive when you got a bunch of competitive individuals.
Sure.
And I just think the thing that we had there during my tenure was very special. I keep using that term, very special, because when you go to the NFL, like I've had a lot of good relationships with guys, I had a player that we had drafted or signed as a free agent. And when I went to Buffalo, 13 years later, we had picked him up as a free agent. And he was thanking me for all that I did for him, basically from June to August.
Wow.
And he just remembered it. 13 years later, we're back together.
Wow.
And he's trying to convey, like, this guy's going to get you right. I had this one player, offensive lineman from Dartmouth, and he wanted to know, that strength coach wants me to work hard? I'm like, what? One of the trainers came over and told me, he said, this kid just left the office because he wanted to know why you wanted him to work hard. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, okay, I won't ever say another word to him. He made it through the first cut. He was in the first cut to get rid of players when you're cutting from 90 to 75 going to 53. But I don't understand, why are you out there if you don't want to get better? Why are you out there if you're not trying to make the team? Why are you out there if you don't want to compete? So in my crazy way of looking at things, I just said, don't have to worry about me wasting time with you because you don't want to be here.
Right.
But it's just, it's a lot of different, you guys have brought up some things that I haven't talked about in a long time. And, you guys are like family, man. It's just, it's just unbelievable to me. And I wasn't sure how this was going to go tonight. But I just figured I'll just go with the flow and see what happens.
That's it. There you go. That's how we
Thank
do.
you, Cub. Thank you, Cub. Thank you, Cub. Thank you, Ball.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for this. Thank you for this invite. It was very meaningful and special to me.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
John,
you
we're
very much.
imposing on you. This is your podcast. We just came on board just because Cub asked us to.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Because I knew how he's impacted all of us, and y'all are my dudes. So I was just like, y'all have all been on the podcast, and you shared your stories, and all of them, there's just been great response from what you guys stated, and people felt like they really got to know you guys on a different level, and so why not have on the guy that shaped so much of who we are as men, and so. I'd like to each one of you just to kind of really quickly give John some final thoughts, as we wind down here. Kurt, you first.
Well, JG, you know how you and I are together all the time. Since the point we haven't seen each other because you had a grandbaby. John's a grandfather, in case y'all didn't know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's about time.
He stopped coming into the gym and did the right thing. So I haven't seen John in over a year now,
Wow.
because of this quarantine thing. And before that, John and I were together pretty much every day, And John, you know what you mean. You know what you mean to me. I don't even need to tell you about that. You are that father for me, and you've been that way, and you've been there for me through thick and thin. And I was blessed to have you, train me my entire career. Even when you were at the Dolphins and I was in San Francisco, I always came back and trained with you. For me, it didn't matter. They all knew, John. Everyone knew you were training. I
still trying to keep that
training
secret.
with you, training your boys. Let's do that. I was training with you while you were training your boys. How about that?
Yeah.
So one of the things that really, I was very happy that, you came to the Dolphins. But at the same time, I was really hurt that you left UVA because I knew, like Cub said, I knew that would be one of the things that was for me. If I was a player there at that time, you were the reason, besides, any other person, the reason why I went to UVA and stayed there and was able to succeed in my NFL career because of you. And
I appreciate that, TK.
And I think the guys that came after me didn't really get to feel your presence and what you really meant about being in the weight room and work ethic. And I don't think many people, even throughout my whole career, no one could understand that. And even to this day, you know, even when we're in the weight room working out and you're training people and, you know, they don't understand what work really is. And I appreciate you because you taught me what work really is. And what you put in is what you're going to get out.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the only thing
Yeah, I
I
appreciate
is
that, TK.
get on the line.
That's it.
Yep.
Hey, boy, you heard it. Get on the line.
No doubt. No doubt. No doubt.
Hey, TK, how about you haul heel to toe, heel to toe.
All right, D-boy, you up.
Hey, John, thanks for loving us all individually and unconditionally. Some of the guys here got a whole lot more playing time than I did, but you would have never known it the way you treated me. You made the cage my Saturdays, man. I love you, brother. And it's so great to see you. It's been a long time, but as I said before, the things I learned from you, I carry over daily. Not forgotten, never.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Bye.
I mean, yeah, John, my time at UVA was very special. I would not take it back from the world, but my time with you was even more special. I mean, I enjoyed being, I lived in the weight room. I loved coming in there. I remember one time Coach Wells came up to me because he thought this was in the McHugh Center. And he thought that, I just didn't finish my workout. And I went to him and I said, Coach, just go ask John. Ask John, would I ever cut a workout? And I said, just go ask him. I said, you're getting on me. I'm here every day. I never miss a workout, never missed a workout ever.
Right.
And so, and TK talked about that work ethic. And I will tell you, I've had that same work ethic, right, that you helped instilled in us when I was there. And I take that every day with me, even now on my job, what I do. I spend a lot of time training people and I talk about work. TK hit it right on the head, that work ethic. And you can have all the talent in the world. You can be the smartest, but if you don't get in there and work, I mean, all that stuff just goes out the window. And that's what I've always been about. And I love my time there, with the fellas on here and just seeing guys work. I mean, and Derek talked about his playing time, but I just admired the way Derek would come. And I'm sitting there scratching my head, and I never, told DB this, but I'm like, man, why isn't Derek playing? I mean, because Derek would come and work. I mean, we'd be in one-on-ones, and he would be there. And so guys like, for Derek to come and work, not getting on the field, knowing how number 4 brought it, every day in practice, and I'm going against him, and I'm like, but he had that same work ethic, just like TK, that same work ethic. And I mean, Terry hit on the head as well. I knew when you left, there were going to be guys that came through UVA program that were not going to benefit from your presence and your guidance and your tutelage the way we did, because we were able to take these things with us, the rest of our lives. And these are the things that I saw, I experienced, and I love being a part of it. And I just want to say, John, I miss you. I was sitting watching, leave it to me, I was watching an old school strongman contest back in 1992 on ESPN, and this guy mentioned John Gamble had the world record for the stone press.
Right.
Yep.
126 kilos, I believe, or something like that.
Yeah.
They're like, well, he said John's name. So
yeah, it was actually more than that.
It was more than that.
Get it right, son. Tighten up.
I got it on my phone because I put it down. I just couldn't remember the number. But yeah,
right.
I got the video.
John, and they were sitting there talking about John in that 1992 segment, talking about what type of strongman he was and how he put the work in. And I was like, yep, that's John right there. And that's one of the things that I took away with me. And like I said, today, to this very day, in my training classes, I'm talking about work ethic. I don't care how talented you are, how smart you are, whatever. If you don't come to work every day and bring your all every day, you will not be able to realize your true potential. And so that's what you got out of us, John. You helped us.
No, I appreciate you, man. You know, can I just tap something onto that?
Yeah.
Another thing I believed in, if something is worth having, it should be worth working for.
True.
And I mean, that's, you know, it's just kind of how I think. And if you want something bad enough and all it takes is hard work, why can't you get it?
True.
No doubt.
True. Well, I just want to thank you for how you impacted my life, John. You know, coming in, like I said, a cocky 164-pound dude that, you know, what you helped develop in me. I mean, I still carry it with me. I think, like Derek said earlier, I'm 53 years old and I still carry some of the lessons that you taught. I'll never forget that one saying that was in the locker room. Too many of us are like wheelbarrows, useful only when pushed. You know, I never forgot that. And that was real. It always meant something to me. You know, it's how will you respond when, you know, the work is there for you and there's nobody watching, you know, and you instilled something in me that I could be home in North Carolina if I wasn't in Charlottesville training with you. I could be home in North Carolina with my workout book, a Gatorade in the middle of a field, and, you know, it's just me. Or I'm calling up Ty, yo, meet me at Parkland. We're gonna go in this little weight room, put the little cassette player on, and it just no AC, fans on, and we just in there getting it because you imparted that in us. That's all we knew, and I carried that throughout my life. And then the lessons that you taught me as a man, you know, just, you know, be a good man, be honest, you know, be passionate, speak what's on your mind, do things the right way, be respectful. So many things. I watched you, and those were the things that you did. And so I wanted to be like that, you know. And yeah, you were the uncle at the cookout, but you were also, you know, a very much a father figure, man, very much a father figure. And I will always love you for helping me develop into what you helped me develop into, and to watch you be a father. It helped me to be a better father, and, you know, trying to raise my children. And so I will always thank you for that, and I will always love you for that, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you for sure.
No doubt, no doubt. And as we wind down, we always close our podcast out with a little session, with a little episode called "Shut the Hell Up, I'm Underdog." And what that is, something that pisses you off, but you're like, you know what, the hell with it, I'm gonna overcome it anyway. Go for it, John.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier, and I'm not going to talk about the last 4 years, but here is something that I made a note of so I wouldn't forget. And you know, I've had the good pleasure and opportunity to watch football players for the last 35 years. And we look at basketball players, they can play until they're like a 90 to 100, and you know, baseball players, they can play until they're 85. And football players can't play that long.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my pet peeves is, and I've always talked about it whenever I had the opportunity, is that football players are never paid what they're worth, because you give up so much. All you have to do is look down the road 20 years after they're done playing, and you'll see what they gave up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my pet peeve, because I just think that it's, you know, you don't get guaranteed contracts. You don't get anything guaranteed, whether you're in college or the NFL. And they're starting to have some of that now in the NFL, where you can get some guaranteed contracts. And I think at some level, they're starting to pay college players. But, you know, you think about what you're giving up to play this game, and down the road, I mean, there's so many players that I've come in contact with, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And, you know, they don't have things, they're starting to get things in place in the NFL. But I just think that you lose so much playing this game. The game is valid, and it's a sport that's for very aggressive men that play like gladiators, that sacrifice so much each time they go out and play the game. But when you stop playing the game, the things that you sacrifice, like your ankle, your knee, your shoulder, your hip, your back, you got to live with that the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, as much as, they talk about, well, you only played 7 years, or, when you look at college and you look at high school and you start adding up all the years, they're starting to see where kids that only play Little League has developed things later in life because of when they play football.
Mhm.
They're starting to do research on that. And my pet peeve is that you can't get paid enough for what you sacrifice, although they would say that you made that decision to play the game. So you decided to sacrifice your body to play the game. But that's the wrong way to look at it.
Mm.
I just think that it's, what more can we do for you because of everything that you sacrificed? That's kind of how I look at it. But that's my pet peeve. And that's just what I believe.
Enough said.
Yeah. In other words, all you armchair All-Americans, sip this shut the hell up juice.
Yeah, but like I said, when they look at a little kid, because he took a couple shots playing Little League football, or, it's like Dan Marino who played 17. And, I had players that I like, Jeff Scanina, TK, Jeff.
Oh, yeah.
He was an undersized defensive tackle, 6'2", 285. He played 18 years.
Yep.
He was the most undersized defensive tackle, probably. I mean, it goes back to, I guess, the old days. They didn't have many guys over 300 pounds. But, when you sacrifice so much over your lifetime, that's my pet peeve. It's not about politics, but it is about politics. And I know they're starting to get some things in place, but I just think that it should be even more so. Well, guys, you see who's calling me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that?
Nope.
My mom.
Oh, mom's calling you.
Mom Duke.
Mom Duke.
So I gotta call her back.
All right. Well, we definitely appreciate you. I didn't have the pleasure of being trained by you, but just, vividly enjoying the memories that everybody sent, and understanding that TK got a black tank eye when he see him on site. Because I'm gonna hold him, because I've been carrying his shoulder pads for years through this media gang. So anybody I know that could put paws on Tank, I'm there for it. So TK, I'm your ally, brother. I'll get you the drop on him when he leases.
Sure. I'm coming.
Hey, I'm coming down to Florida to see you, baby. You and DB.
Hey, we're
Yes, sir.
right
Come
here,
on,
man.
baby.
Come on down.
Straight up.
Much love, everybody.
All right, man. Love you guys.
Appreciate you.
All right, fellas.
All right. Thank
All
you,
right.
guys.